Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to episode 6 of iKONIC podcast. Nick, Conrad, and we have our guest Tony with us. Of course, Tony, gentleman and scholar.
Thank you guys for having me here, man. I know it's been long overdue.
Dude, it's been long overdue. For those of you guys that don't know Tony, I'd be genuinely shocked if you don't know who this guy is. He's like the most famous guy on the internet. He's one of our best friends, but we always talked about doing a podcast episode. So today we're gonna have some fire conversations going. So just recently we decided to kind of start this new thing with our pod.
Okay.
Where when someone comes on, we kind of do like an icebreaker type thing.
Yeah.
And we ask them a couple questions. And they start off pretty easy, but they should get a little bit like
Progressively worse.
Okay.
So we have few what would you rather questions for you.
Okay.
Try to answer with one word. Try not to think too long of it, but if it demands a little bit more thinking, do what you gotta do.
Perfect.
All right.
Let's set them up. Let's set me up.
All right. So the first question is Mercedes or BMW?
Mercedes.
Mercedes. Cool. Man of class. All right. So now you're stuck on a plane between either two arguing passengers or a screaming baby. Which one are you taking?
I would say the arguing passengers.
Okay, the arguing passengers. All right. Fair enough. Now, you got to spend a year on either a deserted island, you're the only person there, or in the most populated city.
Most populated city.
So that probably
Yeah?
would be like India or China.
Yeah, India, China, yeah.
Something like that.
New York City even, bro. 8 million people.
Yeah. Right?
Well, if,
That's actually a baby can see
I
compared
can imagine like a Shanghai or like
Yeah.
Mumbai being
Mumbai,
there.
yeah.
All
I'm
right.
Mumbai, though.
Now,
Love Mumbai.
all right. So, would you rather so would you take this deal? $1 million right now, but you can only drink water for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah, all day.
Tony?
Only water.
Only water for
Only
the rest of your life.
Wait, what was the other one?
No, that's it.
That's it, yes or no? No.
No?
So you don't like money.
I do like money, but I
He
don't
likes
think,
money, but he likes alcohol.
I don't think $1 million would change the fact of me taking that offer.
Okay, let's up the price. What if it was like 100 million? But you
100
can only drink water for the rest of your life.
100 million, I can only drink water. Then yes, that's fair. I'll do
I think he's bullshitting.
100 million and not drink beer for the rest of my life. I mean, I think I've had enough drinks in my life to take the 100 mil.
All right, hey, you ready for this one?
Yeah.
So, what we on right now? That's number 4, right?
Yes.
All right. So, would you rather have your dead body found with a bunch of sex toys or drugs?
Drugs.
The drugs.
What? Sex toys.
Conrad said.
I answered the same thing.
No, you didn't. You
I
said the
did.
sex toys.
No, that was you.
Wait, unless I worked at like a sex toy manufacturer, then it's like fair game. Maybe I got hit by like a box or something.
Or let's say maybe you were trying new items.
Yeah, you're just trying
maybe
to-
I was a tester. Maybe Conrad was a tester for the sex toys.
All right. So now that we broke the ice, let's dive into this combo. So, Tone, how for you, like as of right now, how has 2024 been going for you? You've been hitting a lot of your goals and stuff.
Yeah, man, I think it's been going well. You know, it's been definitely a new year for me. I think exciting way to start the year. I've been seeing a lot of success just career-wise. I think a big priority for me now this year is really focusing on my health and just kind of setting up some good regimens for that, or continuing the good ones I already have set for me, man. But it's been exciting. I think the world's getting crazier, but thankfully my life's been getting better. So I overall got to say it's been going well, man.
That's
Can't
good, bro.
complain.
That's good. God bless. And like, I know you were telling me you have a trip planned to Dominican Republic coming up this summer. You're definitely looking forward to that, right? Get out of the country for a little bit, get a little R&R.
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, so it's funny enough, I just came back from the Bahamas thinking that was going to help me kind of refresh myself. But for all those people that know, if you go out in February, just keep an eye out for a cold front, because I got that really unlucky situation where I went out there and then...
It was chilly, right?
It was chilly, man. It was cold.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. So DR, definitely in the books. For anybody that doesn't know, one of my favorite resorts in DR is Casa de Campo. By far the best one I've been to thus far, and highly recommend it. It's been... I gotta say, it's been a little bit more on the...
How much they paying you to say this?
By the way, link in bio on the...
The link down in the description section.
No, but
We got to get sponsored by Casa de Campo.
Yes. And you only drink water there.
Only drink water. No, I got it. I do gotta say though, the one water that they do have there that I really like is Aquapana. So that's that Tuscany water, man.
That's that clean stuff, right?
So
That's
you said it was cold in Bahamas. Like,
Yeah.
You mean like it was like what, like 60s, 70s, or?
Yeah, I mean, when you live in New York, 22 degrees is cold, but when you're like, I guess, anticipating like 80-degree weather in like Florida or like Bahamas, yeah, it was 70 degrees, man. It wasn't it.
Dude, the Caribbean is a fascinating place because it also is very diverse for such a relatively small area.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tony, I know that you said on this trip, you were like, holy shit, like Bahamas was not cheap at all.
No.
It was, you said, like, it's very different than going on than going to like a resort where you're going to be buying things a la carte, so to speak, right?
Yeah, no, dude, it was nuts, man. Like, I remember I was getting like and I think to your point, I think since the Caribbean is so almost like isolated in a sense, like, don't get me wrong, tons of tourists, but everything has to get imported. From what I understand, they don't have their own natural resource to import besides maybe some local things. I'm not sure what the Bahamas is known for. Not much
so, yeah.
Yeah, like I know they're known for like their coconut rum. I'm sure coconut's like a big commodity out there, but yeah, man, it was insane, man. I'll never forget this. When I was at the little gift shop, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a bag of chips. And you know, you could go to Sam's Club right now and get like a family pack of barbecue Lays for like $2 and feed a family of 5. When I was there, man, it was nuts. I get a bag, standard bag, and they're like $10. I'm like, man, like at this point.
And yeah, that bag was like 80% air.
It was 80% air, yeah. No, it's funny because me and my girlfriend were sitting there. We're like, yo, we're gonna practice fasting out here because like you don't want to spend it. It's not worth it, right?
It's not worth it. They really put it up your ass.
I feel like there's a difference, and me and my girlfriend talked about this. Like, there's a difference between being something overpriced and expensive. Like, if I'm going to pay something that's expensive, the quality has to align with it. And when something you already know isn't of quality and you have to pay 10x the price, it's overpriced. You know? It's not worth the money. It's not worth the money.
It's not worth the money, right? Rightfully said. You know what's another country in the Caribbean that's been becoming increasingly more interesting to me? Cuba. Just because Cuba's been a very closed country for so long. You know, they obviously have the cigar culture. They also have like those really old cars, like they're like plentiful throughout the city. Mm-hmm. And it's just nice to go see something that's off the beaten path and something that's got some really raw travel elements. Because nowadays, anywhere you go, dude, they're like, it's infested with tourists, I'll say.
Oh, yeah. You know what's so interesting about Cuba that I ended up finding out? I remember listening to like a documentary where they were interviewing a taxi driver, and he was kind of talking about like the standard of living there.
Yeah.
And he said that he makes more money as a taxi driver because most of the people are making their money through tourism. That they were making more money than the dentists, the doctors, people with real professions in Cuba. I don't know how it works, and obviously it's from my understanding, Fidel Castro isn't running it anymore. I think it's somebody else in his family, somebody in the mob or Cuba mob is kind of running the country now, but. It kind of blows your mind on like how Cuba's operating.
Yeah, you're right.
It's so nuts. You just sit there like, wait, what? But to your point, yeah, dude, the beaches aren't isolated. I think you need a specific, and I could be wrong. I think you need a specific like visa or something.
You're right. Yeah. You can't just go and like pull up to the airport. Like you need some type of paperwork. You're right about that.
Yeah, it's just so nuts because it's also what? It's a communist country, right?
Yeah, from what I understand, it is.
And you know, you cannot even really bring any Cuban goods back to the U.S. So apparently, after I think 2020. Like, let's say you cannot even bring like a bottle of rum. You cannot bring any Cuban cigars like from anywhere abroad. Like it's illegal.
Yeah.
But, like obviously, if you have one bottle in your bag, no one's gonna check it. You'll be fine.
Right.
But, like if they catch you, like they at least gonna confiscate it. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
In the best case scenario.
Yeah, but I was gonna say in that case too, though, right? It's crazy how Cuba itself has kind of established itself as like the flagship of cigars, right?
You're right about that.
Because your story with your brother when he went inside of that Prague Cuban cigar spot,
yeah,
and like he was able to just get Cuban cigars.
Yeah, like you go to other countries, they don't really have like that trade embargo with Cuba or whatever. So my brother, he's like a pretty big cigar smoker. Shout out to Dominic. He was like looking at like all the displays. We literally got there right before it closed, and the lady was like to him, yo, like I don't really have a lot of time. And Dom's like, yo, like, so which of these are Cubans here?
Yeah.
And she's like to him, my son, she's like, they're all Cubans. And for him, that was just kind of like a foreign concept because it's like, dude, I've never seen Cuban cigars like that. Here they had however many, as far as the eye could see, Cuban cigars. But yo, it's really I like how Tony said that, how Cuba has literally become like the flagship country for the cigars. I wonder what it is that actually makes their cigars so popular. Whether because I'm not that big of a cigar smoker. I can indulge in one from time to time, but I'm not like an expert by any means. I know some cigars are aged in like rum or whiskey barrels, which I think that's boss.
Yeah, no, I think it's nuts though too. You know, actually is interesting. Who's a big cigar guy that talked a little bit about it, but I don't know much about cigars myself because even I don't indulge in them. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, like
he's a big cigar guy.
He's big. He used to say on every set he would take down 5 or 6 stogies. And
Yeah.
it's something about like the flavor of it. It's all flavoring. Because even myself, I think when you were there, we went to Cigar Emporium over at Lyndhurst.
Yep.
Shout out to those guys.
We're not being paid for that.
Yeah. But to that point, like it was kind of cool because it's like there's different. Remember in the room we walked in there, there's like different flavors. There's just like different price points. Each one kind of determines like the sensation you're getting. But yeah, man, I can't. To your back to kind of your question about the $1 million and not drinking water for the rest of my life. Like when it comes to smoking, I just don't care enough for it.
Yeah, you're not a smoker.
I don't know what it is about the nicotine or whatever is in specifically in the cigar, but
Yeah.
I rather drink something.
I get you. I feel like you're either one or the other, right?
Dude, honestly, like I can have a cigar like once in let's say a couple months and I'll be
Right.
fine with that. But like if I was never ever have supposed to have one, like I wouldn't care that much.
Right,
Like
right.
it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I don't like them that much to be like, yo, let's go out and have a cigar tonight, like and sit on a stove, you know?
I think it's also the sensation, right? Because like at least alcohol, you could have a good glass. You could have a glass of really anything, and you start getting that euphoric feeling pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But like a cigar, I don't know, man. I feel like it just makes you smell bad, and
I get what you're saying.
You know, the
Your clothes are gonna
smell.
smell like that forever.
yeah.
But it goes for all the smoking, you know.
Right. It goes for all the smoking, right? It's like everybody has their kind of their poison that they like to indulge in, and I would say personally, me, I like ice cold beer.
Dude, Tony, you're a very well spoken guy, bro.
I appreciate that, man.
You really are, dude.
Tony, I got a question for you.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Knowing that you're like salesman, sales is your career. You're a salesman.
Yeah.
What would be like advice you would give to someone that like is aspiring in sales, like wants to become a salesman?
I-
What's like top advice or like 3 like small tips that you could give them?
I think it's funny because I was thinking about this the other day because I think right now in my career I've been in software sales now for, as you guys know, probably close to 5-6 years, and I've seen a lot of success. I've seen a lot of failure, and I think the biggest attribute you need, the number one thing I gotta say is you need resilience because it's the one of the highest paying jobs in any career you could follow,
Right.
And it's also the fastest one that can make you multiple 6 figures. But I think and it's interesting, right? It's about the market you're in. You could be a great salesperson, but you could be in the wrong market and still get fired from your job. And I noticed that myself, I've been in software sales for supply chain software. I've been in software sales for video conferencing. And then I ended up finding myself in software sales for payroll and HR software. And so what I determined was having the resiliency to stick to the career, because there's a big commitment that comes with that. But I think the second most important thing I would say is you need to have the right mindset, right? So having resilience, being able to take failure in the face, but also making sure you have your why behind everything to be successful. Because the reality is this, what you're doing all day, and it's funny because you made the joke earlier, it's like you're calling strangers all day. That's all you're doing for a living. You're calling strangers and you're trying to convince them to be like, hey, are you looking to purchase my product within the year? And 90% of these people are going to unwelcome your call and tell you to screw off. Why are you calling me? How'd you get my number? It's never really your question, right? And so it plays with your head a lot. So you have to ask yourself, am I doing this because I love money and I want to change my life? Or am I doing this because I didn't know what to do with my life and I just decided to pick this career because they hired me? And if you're doing it for that reason, you might as well go do something else, because the pain and kind of the accumulation and a lot of what comes into sales is hard to bear. And then, of course, the third one, the most important piece here is just going to be use all the tools necessary. Use the people that already done it and were successful, because there's strategies out there that work that will get you there a lot quicker.
Dude, Tone, I say that all the time, and this is something that I live by. For example, I tell people I want to start a podcast. People say to me, "Oh, don't do that because of XYZ. Don't do that because of this, because of this,
Right.
because of this."
Thank you.
Meanwhile, they've never done a podcast in their life.
Right.
The same people, I'll be like this. Hey, listen, I'm thinking about getting into the real estate realm.
Yeah.
And they're like this. Oh, no. Don't go into real estate because it's not good. It's not
Yeah.
consistent money, whatever. People are always going to tell you to not do something when they've never even done it themselves, which is something that I simply cannot put together in my head. And it's one of those things where it's like, unless you've done it, similar
Right.
to what you said, and
Right.
you've been successful with it,
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but I can give a shit about your opinion on the matter.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, I'm so happy you brought that up, because even myself starting early in my career, I used to feel almost embarrassed that I was doing sales, because just so you all know, I got let go 3 times from my job for whether it's performance-based, whether it was COVID, or whether it was not hitting my goals. So I've been in a scenario where I've questioned even my ability. I know you and I talked about this in the past, having imposter syndrome, but what I realized, and now where I'm seeing a ton of success, is that one, I had to go back and I always had to relearn what I did wrong, right? What was I actually doing wrong? But then more importantly, I always just sat there and it's like, I had the right drive, I had the right goals, I had the right mindset to get myself there. It's just applying the right tools. And once I started connecting myself with people that have done it and have been successful, it takes away a lot of the BS. Because
it's a game changer.
Because company loves misery, right? Or misery loves company. Same thing, right? You guys know what I'm saying. And it's so interesting what happens when everybody's doing bad in a specific, whatever they're doing, whether it's a podcast, whether it's working out or whatever. They all like to get together and be like, yeah, this is BS. This isn't going to work. But once you start hanging around with winners, it's crazy how much the possibilities open up for you.
Oh my God, bro, dude, well said, Tony. You literally have said something that's been on my mind for quite some time, and that's pretty much been like my MO for 2024. Because like, I look at it like this: you are who your friends are. So I told you straight up, end of 2023, that a lot of people that I felt weren't benefiting my life,
right,
they're more on the outs because there's other people. You obviously know, like, we have a pretty solid group of friends right now that are all people that are going or working towards something. So when we're with each other, we feed off each other's energy. And when you're with these other people, it's almost like they're an energy vampire. And you weigh your options out, and there comes a point where you're pretty much going to be like, hey, listen, this person's good for me, this person's not. And if they're not benefiting your life, there comes a point where you're going to be like, yo, listen, I'm done with this person. You know?
No.
You can't take everyone on the way with you to the top. Yeah. You simply cannot.
And it's almost like it's called self-care, man. I think that's the most important thing, and kind of a priority for me, even though it is going to be health this year. It's self-care for everything, right? It's like, what are the right people in my life that are going to drive me to be successful, or what are the people that are going to help me develop good habits for myself? And when you find yourself hanging around with people that are smoking weed consistently, and you're trying to quit, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Facts. That's factual. That's factual.
Like, to me, it's more like, it's good to have friends that are going to give you constructive criticism. Because that's important. Without that, you're never going to move forward. Because even if you're disciplined, you can do the same thing every day. You can work out every single day. You can call people every single day. But if you don't learn on your mistakes, if you're not getting 1% better every day, you're not going to go anywhere. Discipline only takes you so far. So you're also going to learn. You also want to get better. So saying that, you're going to have a lot of friends that are going to tell you like, oh, like, this is bullshit, like, I don't know why you're doing this. Why? Because they want you to stay average. They don't want you to, like, outgrow them. But you're going to have these friends that are actually going to give you the right criticism. They're going to be like, oh, maybe try to do it a little bit differently. Look at it from this angle. So, like, you need to be able to, like, judge of people, of, like, environment, like, who you want to keep, who you do not want to keep.
Yeah, I think if you find yourself...
Well said, Conrad. I like that a lot.
That was a great point, too, man. And it's, like, kind of goes into this, right? If you find yourself having to compete, or not even yourself. If you find yourself that in some way or shape or form, someone's trying to compete with you and they're not celebrating your wins, they're almost looking at it as like a threat, you're hanging out with the wrong group, man.
It's very true, dude. It's very
true.
Like,
I feel like it's awesome because I saw this the other day. It's like, if one of my friends win, we all win. That's just the way I look at that. I feel like that's kind of the culture we kind of set for our friend group.
Like, you saying that, it literally brings me this video that I saw of Drake and his friend. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? When like they were recording him and the friend was like, look at him. This is like Drake. He's gonna be like the biggest rapper in the world.
And he was no one at that time. He's like, he's gonna buy me a Bentley. He's gonna buy me a house. And you're looking at Drake at that time. He was like, I'm not gonna say nobody because he was on like Degrassi or whatever, but 100%. He was nothing of what he is now. Like he's become an icon.
So that's what you wanna. That's who you wanna have on your side. Someone's gonna support you, criticize you in like the constructive way, like be 100%. There for you, like you don't want to have someone that's gonna try to like almost like out jump you. Like, let's say if you say something nice, they're gonna say like, oh, and I did this. Like, no, like you want them to be happy for you, with you, not like try to like kind of be like better than you.
You're talking about like one-uppers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like I was looking for the word.
Yeah, no, I got it.
It's so interesting, right? Because it's like life is so interesting. Everybody has their own race. Everybody's running their own marathon. Your marathon and your goals are completely different structure than mine are. Yours are as well, and we all measure the success so differently.
Yeah.
So it's like, why the hell would you even bother caring what someone else does? They have different goals, different visions. Like I know we always talk about money and we always talk about like getting ahead and one day getting a super yacht and all that cool stuff. But to somebody with different goals, different mindsets, different passions, to them making $100K a year is their pinnacle of success. And you have to respect them for that, and that's okay. That's what attributes, I think, the overall theme of everything we go for in life: happiness. Like, you have happiness, you are richer than the rich of the rich because you have that thing called inner peace that no one can take away from you because you're going after what you love. You're doing what you love. You have the great people around you. And I think that's the most important piece with all this and like life itself, right?
It's very, very true. I was going to ask, are we about to dive down the existential question route?
Yes, I think we were about to ask the same question. Like, because honestly, I was about to ask you, like, what do you think is happiness? What is happiness for you?
So great question. I think, going through my life now and really kind of sharing my experiences with people and everything, I think happiness to me and what I feel like should be for other people is how you wake up and feel every morning. What are the first thoughts you have in your head?
Yeah.
And if they're positive and you're just grateful and you practice gratitude, I noticed that to me has always just made me feel happy. And it's the simplest things. When I wake up healthy and I know I have my family that loves me and cares about me, I have great friends that all they care about is success, and then I have a good job that's self-fulfilling me, making me feel great. I feel like I win every day. And of course I have more goals that I know are going to maybe increase that happiness or just enhance my experience now. But I noticed that when you're grateful and when you're actually looking around you and practicing gratitude, it makes you happier.
It's facts.
And I think to me now more than ever, like, the more I'm grateful, the less I desire, but I'm still practicing that route. So I almost feel like sometimes I've reached a level of happiness that I couldn't have asked for more. Now everything else I feel like that I get in life is going to be monetarily or tangible things. But to be honest, I rather invest in my experiences, which with good people that I love. So like that's my definition of like, hey, you could do all that.
Damn, I never knew Tony was so well spoken. Legit, Tony, you really said that very nicely.
Honestly, I feel like we are not even necessary here. Like, you could just talk to the camera and like, hey, what are we
Yeah,
doing
literally.
here?
No, legit, Tone. I really like how you said that, especially how you said investing in experiences, because I know like you love to go out, take your girl out for like a really nice dinner.
Yeah.
I very much like to travel.
Right.
All these things are experiences, you know?
Right. Like I would rather, like I think we've all talked about this before, I would rather spend $1,000 on a flight and a whole entire vacation to somewhere nice that I would love to visit, whether it be like the Caribbean or whether it be somewhere in Europe, than wear a $1,000 Hermes belt or wear like a $1,000 fit. Like, to me, I don't care. That does nothing to me.
You're
besides,
right.
Honestly, I'm like the same way. Like, if I spend my money, I need to know that like I'm spending it like wisely on something that's
Right.
actually like has some meaning to me. Because like another pair of, let's say, shoes that I'm gonna pay $500 for, like there's no
Yeah.
meaning in it. And like if I go for a trip with friends, I'm gonna have fun. That's gonna stay in my head, in my heart forever, you know.
Yeah.
And that's an experience.
Right.
Because listen, the shoes can always like fall apart the next day. Like the trip that you had, the memories that you have, they're not gonna like just like disappear.
It's gonna stick with you for a lifetime. And by the way, Tone, real quick,
Yeah.
not to change topics,
Yeah.
I do want to return to this, but I just wanted to really quickly rewind when we were talking about like sales and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Tell the listeners the extent that you used to go through to get in contact with C-suite people. I remember you were telling me something about trophies.
Oh yeah. So really the name of the game, right, is you have to get in front of the person to be able to share your idea about what you're trying to sell them. So the best way to do it is you got to get creative. And one of my favorite ones were C-level people are very busy people. They're very inaccessible. You could try to go to their office and their assistant's going to tell you to screw off, or they're not going to take your call, or they're going to flat out just tell you they're in a meeting when they're not, right? So what I used to do is there would be months and months at times I couldn't get in touch with a specific CFO, and I still have his trophy to this day. The guy's name was Tom Giuliano. He works over in Totowa, New Jersey, and he works for this nail manufacturing company. So I sent him a trophy for hardest executive to reach, basically congratulating him, because I would do everything. I would send him emails. I would send him one-off emails. I'd cold call him every single day of the week. I'd call him after work. I'd call him before work. I'd try to find cell phone on these sketchy websites.
Oh my god.
And funny enough, one day I sent him out a trophy, and I was just like, hopefully this gets your attention. Congratulations, you've been the hardest one I've been trying to reach to. And lo and behold, we had a conversation. He unfortunately didn't purchase anything, but it just showed that to be creative and to really get yourself in front of C-suite, you have to think outside the box.
Tony, you are an absolute legend for that. I love that. If you're in sales, do that, and it's going to open up conversations for you for sure.
And the guy probably looks at his phone every single day. A call from Tony, he's like, a fucking guy.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what you got to do, man. It gets exciting when you start having fun with it in that realm and start getting really creative. You know, now that I even think about it, it's kind of nuts to think. I've done all kinds of things. I've either sent them like funny memes. I'll like send. There was this one I did one time. Sent out to a group of HR ladies that kept ignoring me, and it was this is me right now waiting for your response, and it's just like a skeleton at a keyboard. And I was like, hope this finds you well. I look forward to hearing back. And people laughed. They're like, this is hilarious. Like, you know what? I got 30 minutes with you next week. Let's just see what's up.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
He's dropping all these ideas for the future salesmen.
Tone, that right there is honestly some real value.
Yeah.
Like, if you are an aspiring salesperson, that is definitely something that you could take. That's crazy.
One of the things also I noticed is you have to have the energy, man. Like, you have to wake up every day and kind of embrace the hard part, right? The hard things that really make people successful. And, like, for example, myself, it was a great turnaround. You know, I went from somebody kind of figuring his career out, not really sure what I wanted to do, to somebody now, like, thankfully, everything's been playing out right. Like, you know, top rep in my company, like, making a ton of money now, making good commissions. And I noticed that once you embrace the really hard things and you get really creative, you'll start seeing success.
You just attract different things.
You attract different things. The funny thing is there's no trick to getting people to buy what you want, but there's a level of awareness you need to build to your brand, right? As a salesperson, you are a brand. People don't buy from what you're selling. People are buying for who they like, right? So even if you're selling water, if Connor and I have a great relationship and there's another water salesman who's going to sell it to him 25 cents cheaper, he's still probably going to buy it from me because we have that extensive relationship.
You have that rapport.
We have that rapport. We built each other up to a certain extent to have that good relationship where he's going to trust my word over somebody else he never met before. And so kind of going into that point, it's extremely important to be able to have those relationships, man, because that's really the key thing. And you do that by just being yourself, being human. That's my
being
biggest
human,
thing.
exactly.
You got to be just a normal guy. You can't be a walking telemarketer. People are going to be like, all right, who is this guy? And just to kind of wrap up that point, you can only sell to people that can and will buy. That's it, flat out. Doesn't matter if you're selling the cure to cancer. Doesn't matter. Only the people that can and will buy and actually know what the value is you're delivering on, or else you're just barking. You're just trying to sell Fugazi right now at that point. You might as well just not do anything because it ultimately you'll end up failing. So
I like that.
A lot of things like that come into play, man.
Actually, going with like the next conversation, actually, question for both of you. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think is like maybe 3, 4, 5 things that every man should have or every man should do in their life?
That's such a good question. So I'll kick us off there, man. I think the first most important thing, and Nikki and I talked about this a little bit, you have to have hygiene. You have to show some sense of self-love in that regard where you need to smell good at all times. You need to brush your teeth every day. You need to be at least well-groomed, clean shaven, or if you have a beard, make sure it's trimmed up, good haircut, at least twice a month, 2 to 3 times a week, whatever it is, 2 times a week. That'd be nice.
2 times a month.
And just look clean. You don't even have to look the best. Just,
show that you actually give a shit about yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the first one. So good hygiene at all times, right? I think the second most important one is you need to have great money management skills, right? I think that's key one. I've seen, too many people, and I think we'd all relate. People who overspend too much, maybe go beyond their means, and then they find themselves in a tough spot. And the worst part is when you're already bad at finances, and then you're trying to find a girlfriend, or you're trying to take a girl out, and you're only digging yourself in a deeper hole, trying to take the girl on an expensive dinner, and you got to put on a credit card. It's like your finances got to be right before you even go that step, right?
I agree.
For me, it's also like I feel like a lot of people have a problem to understand this. If you can afford something, it doesn't mean you should buy it.
Right.
Because let's say if you have $400 in your bank, okay, and you want to get new shoes, it doesn't mean you should get Yeezys for $500.
No.
You're just getting a shoes for $50, $100. You still have $400 left over for other stuff.
It's kind of cool you're saying that because it's kind of to the money management aspect of it. I listen to a guy, Dave Ramsey, quite a bit now. He's been playing a lot on my YouTube feed, YouTube Shorts. But Dave Ramsey says something great, and I always love it. It's a very simple formula. It's for example, if you're trying to save money and you're trying to get ahead and pay off your debt, spend less, right? But it's easier said than done, right? Because now that requires you to budget, be disciplined. And so if you have $1,000 for the month to spend, but you have a $2,000 debt, figure out a way to manage that to where you're not spending anything but the essentials, food, water, and of course, assuming your bill's already taken care of, and that's it, man. No dinners, no alcohol, nope, just pay that off, because, what's the point then at that point?
Isn't it crazy how much money people spend on alcohol, though? Think about that. Like people have a lot of people won't even have like $1,000 to their name, but they'll be going out dropping like $200 on booze for the night.
In a bar here, in a bar there. It's actually like, it's crazy how not only in the US but like almost in the entire world, like alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like endorsed, recommended. It's almost like they like pushing it like straight up your like freaking throat, you know? Like
Oh.
like it's almost entire society is like revolves around it.
Yeah. Well, you gotta remember,
A
it's
large part of it does. You're right.
it's the most accessible and it's one of the most cheapest drugs in the market in the entire world.
Yeah.
You wanna feel something. You wanna feel good for a couple hours, and we're talking around the world, right? You could go to what? You could go to Poland and buy a beer for what? 25 cents American?
But let's say $1, okay?
Well, let's say $1 American, all right? Even here, you go down the block, you could buy you guys remember the Four Locos?
Oh my God.
You go right now, you go down to your local liquor store, and you could buy a Four Loco for $3 and feel like you're on the top of the world for those couple hours. I mean, the next day you feel like crap, but it's just so nuts.
All right, Tone, what's your poison? By that I mean like you like whiskey, you like rum, you like wine, beer. Like, what's your usual go-to?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. I'm a big bourbon guy. I love, as you know, a good Aperol spritz here and there. And then I got to say beer, man. Like, those are my kind of go-to. And then I got to just make sure, you got to be a little bit careful with it. But, no, man, I got to say, a nice ice-cold beer after a long week of work or a nice, old-fashioned, some good old Four Roses. Like, that's always been my go-to, man. What about you guys?
I very much agree with you on that. I do enjoy a good bourbon. You know what I find interesting? How like in DR they have that Mama Juana stuff. What is that? It's like spiced rum.
It's like, it's so funny you say that. So Mama Juana is supposed to be an aphrodisiac. It's supposed to encourage.
Is it?
Yeah, it's apparently supposed to increase your I guess you could almost call it your sex drive.
Your sex drive, yeah.
I think it's hilarious because people go there, they get it, and they buy tons of it. It's kind of cool though, because I remember this one year I went out to DR. I was in Casa de Campo. So listen to this. I was Casa de Campo.
Your favorite place in the world.
Favorite place in the world.
We got to get a ref link, dude. Literally.
I should be a salesman for those guys.
Yeah,
man.
literally.
I'd
If
promote
anyone from Casa de Campo is watching, contact us, iconicpod@gmail.com.
We're going to call it Iconic Travels. We're going to open a travel agency. But to that point, man, it's hilarious because I went in this little shop and I'm looking at this little gift shop, and they have the Mama Juana. But it was interesting because they put these specific roots, and I don't know what goes into it, but it's almost like soaking. It's almost like fermenting a little bit.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, you drink this when you're ready to have a kid, and it's going to make you like
that reminds me of those alcohols. You ever see the ones with they got like a fucking snake in there? You know what I'm talking about? There's like a snake.
It's like the snake oil or something like that.
Yeah.
Yo, that reminds me. Did you guys hear about that thing? I was actually listening to this recently. This new way of getting high with like scorpion poison.
What?
So check this out. This is crazy. So apparently in the Middle East, or I don't know where specifically, but in other parts of the world, what they're doing is they're smoking scorpion poison. And what it is it basically makes you feel like you're dying for 7 hours straight. And then I think because of like the sense of your death, like post when the effects wore away, you get this intense euphoria that, oh my gosh, like I was just about to die and like now I gotta be grateful, and it almost makes you feel enlightened. It's like insane.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Yo, isn't it like insane how like everywhere around the world they get high in their own way? Like in Papua New Guinea, I think it's Papua New Guinea, they have like the beetle nut. Or if you I'm not getting the beetle nut.
Yeah.
Or if you go to places like Somalia or Eritrea, they have like the chat or the cot, however you call that.
Yeah.
Or if you go to Afghanistan, they have like the hash or whatever. Like it's crazy. Like every place has its thing.
Yeah, no, it's nuts, man. It's kind of it's almost like Colombia, right? They have like how coca leaves are fine. People used to do them like if you had like it's kind of crazy how this would play out, right? It's like if you had like a toothache, they would just be like, yo, put this in your mouth, and you wouldn't feel anything. Your toothache was like not hurting for a couple.
It was gone. Yeah.
You just gotta chew on the coca leaf. Yeah, no, man. It's nuts how nowadays you could basically try smoking anything. Like that kind of reminds me too, man. When some people were trying to like get the sensation of alcohol quicker, and this is what a lot of homeless people tend to do, is they'll drink hand sanitizer since
What?
it's such high. I'm not even
Hand
kidding.
sanitizer?
Hand sanitizer.
That's disgusting, bro.
Dude.
Dude,
I don't want to put it on my hand because it smells.
well,
That's crazy.
Because the way it would play out is like from my understanding, you can't die from it, or you'll die of actually alcohol poisoning. So people would go into stores and like homeless people that were really like just either
Fiending
for a hit,
Yeah.
go in there and they're just chug that thing down and they'd be hammered.
Dude,
Bro.
speaking of the homeless,
It's
dude,
nuts,
dude,
man.
dude, the homeless problem in New York is getting bad, dude.
Oh, it's getting bad everywhere, man. Like San Francisco is. I remember
It's like a zombie apocalypse, right?
I had a buddy tell me he was.
Yeah.
He pulled up to San Francisco recently. He was there like 6-7 months ago. There over the summer, and he gets off the bus coming back from the airport. And he's like, "Hey man, look, there's people camping for a concert." And you look outside, it's just a bunch of homeless
my
camps.
God.
They were camping for a concert.
Yeah, man, it's so bad. Listen how bad it is. So you guys, I'm not sure if you guys remember this, but there was a tech conference recently in San Francisco where the president of China came.
Yes.
And
They closed like everything in the
everything
city.
down.
And they like removed all the homeless people, right?
Yeah, no. They made it to where they couldn't even access the streets. Like it was that bad, and there was guards literally keeping the homeless like pushed out a certain
Bro,
part
that's
of the
crazy.
By the way, guys, like really quick random sidebar. I just wanted to bring this up.
Yeah, what's up?
Dude, remember that shit that happened on Capitol Hill when that thing got like stormed and people were like chilling on like Pelosi's desk? Bro, what does America come to, bro?
Man, I mean, you kind of bring up a good point about that piece, man. Well, that was crazy. Apparently, that one guy who got escorted by the guards, like, is now facing like 2 years or is currently in jail, and he didn't do anything wrong. There's footage of him getting escorted by police, and apparently he was leading the rampage. Apparently, after this whole thing was going down. But did you guys hear what happened recently with the Marine who set himself on fire?
What?
That I haven't heard of.
So there's so outside of the White House, a guy grabbed gasoline, and there's a video on Twitter. I swear to God.
Of course, it's on Twitter.
It's
bro.
on Twitter, yeah.
Why would it not?
Yeah, right? He dumps himself in gasoline, lights himself on fire, and starts screaming "Free Palestine!" Like,
Damn.
and I think he was either in front of the Israeli embassy, but I know it was in D.C. And I was just like, man, like it's getting crazy out there, even with the Palestinian protesters.
But look what people have to do to get noticed.
To get noticed.
You literally have to put gasoline on yourself, light yourself on fire, so they're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking getting crazy.
It's driving, and here's the thing: I don't always like getting too political, but to that whole point, it comes to the point where people have to take very irrational measures to have their own government stand behind them to make change. And I think this is a great example of this, where it's like, hey, like there might be something here that needs to devote time and not be putting our funds to other things that don't matter, whether it's endorsing Biden or whether it's endorsing and helping out Ukraine. I think there's sometimes bigger priorities in the world that we should probably prioritize, and I just think it's crazy that people are getting to this extent.
Isn't it crazy, dude? And a lot of things just go totally unheard or unnoticed.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, think of it this way: like you guys didn't even hear about the guy with the Marine eye. That should have been frontline news. Everyone should be talking about it, but it's only certain means of media that they get access to it
That
to
will
see
cover that and stuff. Yeah.
It's so sad, man. I mean, who knows?
Some question for you, by the way.
Yeah.
I remember like you and I were speaking about how Twitter has just changed entirely.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And how like this is gonna sound like messed up, but
Yeah.
like whenever I go on Twitter, we have this conversation. Like
Yeah.
all I'm getting are like, and granted, I don't really use Twitter a lot. I'll use it for like stock and cryptocurrency information. That's
Yeah.
about it. But I'll always see videos of people like either
Right.
dying or like just like crazy car accidents and shit. And the crazy part is like, honest to God, I don't even engage with that type of content.
No.
You know, like the thing is like, if let's say someone sent it to you once or you watched it twice somehow, now the algorithm thinks that you like these videos, especially if
Yeah.
you like watched until the
Dude,
end.
the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself.
So like, you know, let's say I don't
Literally.
get on Twitter, I don't get any of these.
Yeah.
But let's say if I go on Instagram, someone send me like car crash, and then someone else sent me a car crash. I saw 2 car crashes in one day. Next thing you know, the next day I'm a car crash.
Your whole
car
grid
crash.
is like different
That's
car
it.
accidents.
Well, I think that comes to a good point, though, man. It's like we're all connected. People talk about the internet. Like the internet's connected by every single app, every single text, everything in one way, shape, or form. There's an algorithm for the algorithm to kind of expose ourselves, and
Yeah.
we kind of set our own internet environment based on what we engage in and talk about. And it kind of goes up to what I showed you last time. We were having a disclosed conversation. Our phone was off. We just kept talking about super yachts. The next day,
The next day,
I get an
literally.
email on my work email, by the way, from Marriott, being like, "Hey, get your next super yacht experience ready." I'm like,
Yeah, no,
I can't even
no,
afford a super yacht. What's going on?
no,
here?"
no bullshit. That literally happened, dude.
But
Yeah.
we had the same thing. Remember when we were talking with your dad about plugging in a heater through the converter to the outlet?
That was
on
a
the wall?
Dom. That was a Dom. We were talking
That
with
was-
Dominic
yeah.
about plugging like a space heater into like an extension cord, and the next day he goes on Facebook and there's like a meme, but like the extension cord's like blown up and there was like a heater.
Yeah.
Speaking of heaters, boys, never, and this goes out to everybody too. Yeah, never do that because I short-circuited my apartment one time with those heaters, man. I put it on, and I did it worse. I didn't even do it on an extender, man. I did it on like those tables that have an outlet.
Yeah.
I connected my heater on that thing.
Oh shit!
My entire circuit fried.
Damn.
Really?
Yeah, so I had to get my buddy Colin. He had to come in there and he had to go fix my wire because I would have burned down my whole house, man.
Dude, that's nuts. That's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Though, but the internet's a crazy spot, man. I just try to stay off it.
All right, question for you guys.
Yeah.
If there was a button on this table right now, and if you hit it, the internet was gone forever. It was never a thing. You're going right back to Amish type times. You hitting that or not?
Dude, that's a
I'm
good question.
definitely not. You know what it is, man? I think the internet does more good than bad. I think it's how you take advantage of it. Like it's kind of funny. There was a stat once that where like 75% of the internet is porn.
Is that true?
I remember I googled that once.
I wouldn't doubt
Maybe
it.
that's what you would watch.
to that point,
I'm
though,
dead.
man. No, I think the internet's the most important, most powerful tool we have now, man. So I definitely wouldn't want to go back to Amish times because back then in the Amish times, man, you had a headache or you had high blood pressure or you had a serious illness. I mean, there's no helping you, man.
Yeah, you would.
That's it.
Okay, but the question is like if. Let's say you might erase the internet, but does it mean like all the medicine advancement also like
disappears?
gets lost? Or like we keep the advancement and let's say we
Do
have
we keep everything and we just don't have the internet?
Yeah, that's an
But then
important
again,
part.
I feel like
That's a game changer, right?
Yeah, that at least for me.
All right, we keep the medical advancements somehow.
Honestly, I would strongly consider clicking the button just for the simple fact I feel like nowadays, let's say you go out with friends or whatever,
Yeah.
everyone's on their phones, okay? Like people don't really engage with each other like as much. It's
And it's getting worse generation by generation.
and people are like I do not think people are getting any smarter than they were like
Oh,
before.
no.
Now like everyone just relies so much on Google, on like
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Like people don't know like simple stuff. Let's say
Yeah.
if you even trying to like sew something or you're trying to let's say you have a stain on shirt, like you're not gonna do it yourself. You're always gonna go
Yeah.
to like your grandma or your mom.
Oh
like,
yeah. You know
It's true.
what's so crazy about that, man? You also got to think about how socially awkward everyone's getting.
Oh, yeah.
Like I feel like now you can't even hold a conversation with a stranger without them feeling some sense of like nervousness or some sense of like panicky feeling, and you're just like, man, like you're on your computer all day, like just you're talking to a human. It's like, and that's why I gotta say that I think the best era was maybe like the early 2005s, 2012.
Like when you got your first flip phone.
yeah, because it's like if you wanted to meet up with someone, you still had the chance to connect. But there wasn't really much to do in your phone besides text.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You're
And,
right.
you know, so if you're all hanging
that would
out,
be perfect.
it's perfect.
You're
It's like
right,
a perfect
you're right.
balance. But there was still enough where, like, if you want to watch a YouTube video, you still had it. And the social media world wasn't, like, as advanced. So it's like,
Remember when YouTube was like first a thing?
no, it's nuts, man.
Like what YouTube has become now, like YouTube is straight up the new TV. Just think about it. Like like most people that I know, if it's not a sports game, they don't even watch regular TV. Most of the stuff they consume is either on like YouTube or Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I have TV in the house. I turn it around every half a year.
Every half a year?
Like, I literally never use it.
Only
like
time
I don't watch news.
I'm with you on that because I only watch, like, TV if I need to, one, have some background noise, or to your point, like, unless I got to watch the Super Bowl and I can't stream it on my phone, that's the only time. Only NFL's on,
Yep.
NBA games, hockey games. I use 4 channels, man. I remember back then I needed remember when like you could pay like $150, $300? Like back, I'm talking when Comcast was like just like the standard of all cables.
Yeah.
You could pay like $300 for like 1,500 channels.
Now you get nothing. Everything's bundled and packaged, right? No,
Everything-
legit.
Yeah.
Like what's the sport where you got to watch it on like Peacock now?
Oh yeah, no, but that's the NFL now.
Dude, I
NFL.
hate that.
It's bad.
Like,
yeah.
how do you need to have like 3 or 4 different streaming services to be able to
That
watch
was a
one
big
sport?
that was a big W on the NFL's. I mean on Peacock's part.
Dude, I heard some like crazy numbers that they made so much money off
Oh
just
yeah.
one game.
Even now though, the Premier League, they're controlling a lot of the big games. You want to watch Man U play, you got to download Peacock. And good luck. The only other way you could probably get around is legally streaming it. Dude, it's so bad because like you got to remember at one point too, like all the biggest events, everything we're talking any game at one point was all just done through the through cable.
Cable, yeah.
It was just cable TV. You had to buy cable. You had to spend $200 a month.
Yeah.
And it was like that was the standard. Like even with like you know what sucks now? Like Netflix kind of set the path, But now, if you want to watch a specific movie, you either got to download Paramount Plus, Disney Plus. You got, what else do we got? We got
Hulu.
Netflix.
Have
Hulu.
50,000 different subscriptions.
Yeah, Hulu, Netflix, Apple TV, whatever.
It's like you can't do anything. You got Amazon Prime. Then our YouTube sells movies. You're just like,
It's very, very true, dude. It's very true.
it's so nuts, man. How,
Like, and if you start adding up all the subscriptions to everything, like it's like
it's still paying like cable.
It's hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're screwed. You got it. And then the worst is like when you do the free subscriptions, you'll watch that one thing and you forget it, and now you're getting paid.
Oh, that's me. I'm still paying for like the last like 10 years. I'm still paying for like RuneScape membership, and I haven't signed on my character and like since I was like 7 years old.
You know what I'm still paying for right now, and I still don't know how to access my account. So you guys have, you have to pay Microsoft to do Xbox Live.
Yeah.
I'm getting every month. I'm still going to charge $13.99. I still don't know how to cancel it.
No, at that point, you just call up your card.
Credit card. You're like, yo, can
yeah.
you take this off? Yo,
You just gotta change your card. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy
No,
about that?
no
though?
problem.
It's crazy how lucrative these companies are. They're going to get their money one way or another. So I've lost my debit card too many times to count. 2-3 times, whether it's either because I lost my wallet or I misplaced it or I got hacked, all kinds of things. And funny enough, I'm thinking, it's a fresh start. Like these companies, Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, they won't be able to grab my money because my card doesn't work now.
It's more or less connected to the account, right?
More to connect. All of a sudden, I still look. Next month, I'm like paying $8.99. I'm like, dude, come on. Man.
It depends if you connect your credit card, if you connect your account.
Yeah, and it's usually with a debit card, but it's weird. They still get access to my account. they're getting the money somehow, right?
You know what, guys? Like another thing that I just wanted to touch on the episode is, what do you guys think about like Andrew Tate as like about his persona, about like how he talks and like everything else? Like, let me start with you, maybe Nick, because I know Tony's been like very busy this episode. So
yeah.
Look, I personally think that a lot of the stuff that Andrew Tate says is spot on. Does he say a lot of things that are kind of outrageous? Yeah, he does. But as I just said, a lot of the stuff that he says is spot on, and I think that masculinity is just disappearing, and today's men are just not men. So I do largely agree with the message that he promotes. Sometimes he says things that are a little out of pocket, but in general, I think that he's very spot on with things.
Yeah, man. And to that point also, like I think what you were saying is he does have a lot of good points, but I think the overall theme I noticed about him is it's all about self-awareness and having like good principles, good values. Like there's a lot of positive things people do say, and I think a lot of his tactics, what he's done to get the notoriety that he's gotten to this point is a lot of it has to be controversial. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
if he was very almost too buttoned up to say, and a lot of the things people agree on, he probably wouldn't have gotten the exposure he did. So to some extent, do I feel like he practices a lot of what he preaches? Some of the things where you're gonna like, I've sat here and when he's like, said certain things, I don't think he does, and I think he's smart enough to know that, hey, this is what's going to drive controversy, engagement, and so on and so forth. But to really kind of highlight some of the things I do like about him is, I think he's a great example in the way he holds himself up as a man should. Be successfully financially, have a good sense of consideration for your health, for your mental health, having good friends, having good successful friends, having ambition. And I think a lot of those things now are kind of dwelling to your point, because I feel like almost the world is suffering with a lot of self-entitlement. I don't think people know what it's like to work extremely hard to get where they need to be to see success. Everybody wants a shortcut. Everyone wants the magic pill. Everyone wants that magic guru to give me the secret formula to make $1 million.
True.
So I think I like his whole kind of stance on that. Good old fashioned hard work kind of gets you to where you need to be. But I do gotta say, man, like outside of that, like it's cool. His cars are sick. Oh, that's dope to kind of see. But it's all social media-y things that you kind of engage with on a day-to-day basis.
It's true.
But I think the most important thing about him is I could tell he's authentic to some extent. Like a lot of what he said, he's backed up. I mean, who knows about his businesses? That's the one thing I could never figure out about him, what he's actually doing to make hundreds of millions, unless you guys know.
Listen, you know what? What we got to do is we got to get this pod a ton of exposure, and then we're going to take a trip, us three, out to Romania, and we're going to shoot an episode with Top G and Tristan Tate.
One day,
so
man,
so everybody smash the subscribe button, like this podcast, help us get out to Romania.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, but guys, one thing that I very much agree is with what you're saying is that if Andrew Tate was saying the things he's saying, but in a very, very much nicer way, he was much calmer, and like he wasn't so controversial, no one would listen to
No
this.
one would listen to him.
Like the way social media is right now, you either say something controversial you need to kind of like have your own brand. You need to have like your own way of
Yeah.
speaking. Like if you're just like average or in between or like just like a common folk, like
No one's
you're
gonna
really
listen
not
to
gonna
you.
have
You
people
gotta
listen to
stand
you.
out. You gotta do something that people are gonna watch and
You-
remember your face.
You have to be distinguished by something.
Yeah. Right.
And like just if let's say if you have 1 million people that hate you and 1 million people that love you, there's already 2 million people that care about it. That
Yeah.
care about
It's
something
very,
you
very
do.
true. It's very true.
I think it's always a great example, right? Where it's like bad publicity is never is bad. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Exactly.
You're getting the exposure, you're getting the engagement you need, and whether you want to become a villain in people's eyes or a hero, and I think he does a great job doing that. He's a polarizing figure. A million people love him, a million people hate him, and I think overall though what he does is he kind of makes you sit back and be like, hey, I never thought of it that way. That's something to consider, right? And people who are just closed-minded are just like, this guy's misogynist. This guy is speaking so poorly. He hates women, and I've seen it too many times where people just want to have him fit their own narrative. Like people are always saying like, oh, he hates women, and he says it multiple times. I respect women. This is just my ideology on dating and what's a high-class woman and what's not, and it's
And I very much agree with what he said, because you have girls that are high-class women, and then you have others that they should just simply not even be in the same sentence. I'm not going to respect a girl that's going out getting trashed at the bar every night the same way that I'm going to respect someone that genuinely looks after themselves,
Right.
takes good care of themselves, has their health in mind, is a driven individual. Like for me, something that's always turned me on with chicks is someone that has drive and wants to do something.
Right.
I don't want to be with someone that is just kind of there for the ride type, you know?
right.
Dude, I agree. And just one more thing, honestly, about like Andrew and Tristan Tate, like the thing that I love about like them is like, you know, the brotherhood that they present, because I feel
Yeah.
like nowadays the brotherhood is a lot of times gone. Like
Now it's sisterhood.
like people don't understand that it's much better to have, let's say, 2 or 3 very good friends, very good brothers,
Yeah.
someone that will always be there for you,
Yeah.
than let's say 50 friends that might be there for you, might not,
Right.
might support you, might not. Like you want someone that's gonna defend your name when you're not there. You don't want someone that's gonna just listen to how people talking shit
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah, no.
Be real. Do you do that when I'm not there?
Yes,
You do?
yes, I do.
Tony, you believe him?
What does he do?
If he gets my back when I'm not there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally believe that.
You think so?
Like he backs you up. Like if like
How much did he pay you to say that?
anything. Well, wait. I think I just got the memo. No, man. Yeah, it's and that's the other big thing though too, man. I always think about it. One of the cool things he does say is like, you don't want to be around a bunch of yes men. And I think him and his brother always confronted each other about a lot of things, or always at least established that boundary where it's like, hey, yo, if you're going in a bad direction that you know doesn't fit what you're achieving in life, like he's gonna call you out about it. And I think we all have those friends that keep you accountable.
And that's love, bro.
That's love, yeah.
Because when you have people that just say, hey, yeah, what you're doing is good.
right.
Yeah, what you're doing is good. At the end of the day, it's like, they're not really your friend. They don't really give a shit about you.
Yeah.
Like, simply put, they really don't.
And to have that, I noticed you need a small group, man. There's only a small group of people. You need no more than 5. I think even 3 or 4 is sometimes maybe even too big. But
I agree. I feel like now our circle, we just have such a solid group of friends, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's all people that just foster like good energy and
energy, yeah.
want to just pretty much go up in life in every single way possible. And like you said, there's not that many spots.
No,
You got to
no.
pick and choose who your friends are going to be.
Yeah.
Not everyone could be that close to you. Not everyone deserves to know everything about you.
yeah, no.
100%. Like the thing that I always think to myself and I always say is like, I don't want to spread myself too thin. Like I don't want to have like 50 people that like stay in touch with, because then I'm not really staying in touch with anyone.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you only have so much
You're
time.
everywhere but nowhere.
Yeah, you like again, like as they always say, like you can be master of a lot of things, but the jack of none, right?
No, right, exactly, and I think that's always going to be the big thing here, right? Is you got to most importantly have.
I'm sorry. Was that the other way around? A jack of a lot of things or a master of none? Or
Yeah.
A jack of all trades.
Yeah,
and
jack of all
master
trades.
none.
It's like kind of goes back to that Bruce Lee line, right? Where it's like, don't fear the
So
guy.
I did it the other way around.
Yeah, the other way. It's like, don't fear the guy who's practiced 1,000 types of kicks.
Yeah.
Fear the guy who's practiced that one kick 1,000 times, right? It's the
Exactly
same thing.
right.
But no, man, I think that's what it all boils down to. Is you need to be around good people. You need to be grateful for the people you have now. And here's the scary thing that I think a lot of us have seen, even outside of our own group, is that a lot of people tend to outgrow other people, and you start having to question, hey, like, I've known this kid since elementary school. I've known him since high school, but he's down a dark path. He's probably not going to be influencing me positively even now moving forward. There's going to be a moment there where we're going to have to hit that crossroad and be like, man, like either clean up your act or it was nice knowing it. It's no offense, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
it's no hard feelings, but it's
Yeah.
more on some I'm trying to go up and you're holding me down.
Yeah.
So
It's
Yeah,
like
dude, you can lead donkey to the water, but you cannot make it drink it, right?
You can't.
So like, you can only do so much if someone doesn't want help, doesn't want to like level up, move up. Like you can do it for them.
Yeah.
You can only do so much at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, and I think that was a big thing too, man. I remember, you know, you see all these like motivational quotes a ton of times, but there's a couple of those that sometimes hit home, right? Where it's like, if you want to learn how to make your first $1,000,000, hang out with people who made their first 10. You want to make your first 10, hang out with people who made their first 100, because they're already there.
Yeah,
They've already
they're there.
10x what you're trying to do, and typically those people are the ones that are going to tell you like, hey, this is the mistakes you're probably going to end up making, but this is how you maneuver around them, and it's going to end up getting to your goal. And I think that's just a big thing people need to realize. Like, show me your friend, show me your future.
Exactly.
And it kind of ties all back in.
You don't realize how big of a factor that is too, because your friends are kind of your network too, so to speak.
They're on your network. It's always cool.
As Frankie Boy Palmisano says, life is a contact sport. It's all about who you know. Because it's going to be them that are, because a lot of the times people, they're nobodies. They suddenly get brought up by the right person, and then they're in a position that other people are dying for, that have the education, the experience, but ultimately they never get it.
I gotta tell you this, and this is gonna teach you all a lesson, and everybody watching this, and just to that point about a contact sport. So, I used to be a bus driver when I was probably about like 19 years old. I used to work for Newark Airport. I was just driving my little shuttle around, and I used to be nice to everybody. Just I knew customer service was gonna get me the most tips in my line of work, so I just knew I had to wake up and try to be the very best I could be at that. And one day, I ended up meeting a CEO for a small startup over in Morristown. It was like a certificate of insurance software company. And I just remember, you know, typical, you know, shooting the crap, just talking, like nothing insane, didn't say anything magical. And yeah, I dropped him off at the airport terminal. I remember I dropped him off Terminal A. And he's like, hey, man, I'm so sorry. I don't have a tip to give you, but I would love to hire someone with your energy and kind of just who you are as a person. I was like, that sounds awesome, man. Yeah, I'm looking for an internship. I'm 19 years old. I'm still in college.
You're
going
still
for
very
accounting.
green.
Yeah, and one thing led to another. He gives me his business card. He's like, email me your resume. We'll stay in touch once I get back, because he was going on vacation. So I emailed his director of HR, and one thing led to another, and I landed my first job. But to that point, man, it's like who you know, and you'll never know who you're going to meet down the street, right? You're never going to know. And that's why always open yourself up to that opportunity. But to really increase your chance of that, got to be around the right environment. You'll be so surprised how many millionaires are going to places like an iKONIC or high-end bars or going to, you know, obviously conferences, business conferences. So you want to level up your network, you got to put yourself in that's those scenarios.
You have to put yourself in that room with them.
In that room with them, exactly.
For the conversation to even become a thing.
Oh, it's so nuts, man. I think a lot of and kind of to go full circle with the whole, also the sales conversation too, man. The only people I ever typically talk to that have taught me to get where I'm at now is those are the guys that show me their W-2. I've shown you the guys W-2 before.
Yeah.
They're making like $900K a year. They're making
They don't have to talk.
They don't have to talk. It's like, here
their
you
figures
go.
do it for them.
The numbers speak for itself.
The numbers, right? And you sit there, you're like, okay, whatever this guy tells me,
he's doing
I'm going to listen
right.
to. I'm not going to listen to the guy that doesn't know what the heck they're doing, has lost their job, keeps complaining about the career. I'm like, man, I can't waste my time on that.
And that's usually people that speak the most.
Those are people that speak
It's
most.
always
Yeah.
this most.
Oh, and by the way, it's always, you always got to blame someone for it, right? Oh, it's the market, it's the economy. Oh, it's always something.
There's always
right?
someone. Yep, it's so true.
It's nuts, man. But
guys, listen. I think that this is going to be it for today. We got a banger episode for the books, and I think that we're going to have a ton of great content coming out around this episode over the next couple weeks. If you guys haven't subscribed to the podcast, make sure you do that. Drop the video a like and a comment. Let us know your opinions if you got any value out of this. Tone, we appreciate you pulling up. And,
appreciate you guys having me.
And I'm like 100% certain that you're going to be like a regular guest on the pod.
Oh, yeah.
We'll use this as a time capsule when we eventually make the trip out to Romania. We're going to have Tony on that episode.
Exactly. We're going to bring back the shorts from this episode. And
Yeah.
Tony, we're here.
Yeah. We made it.
But again, thank you so much, Tony, for being here
appreciate
for us.
Appreciate
it was
boys.
very nice to host you here. Thank you for all the lessons you dropped for the viewers, for us too. So that was very nice.
Great conversation, dude.
Awesome, boys.
That's it, guys. Take care.
Take care.